Hello, everybody. It's Bob Senk, and to say I'm fired up today would be an understatement. You will not believe this presentation today. It is going to be absolutely fantastic and change your life. That's right, change your life. So I need your help with a couple things, if you wouldn't mind. First off, would you mind, and I hate doing this all the time, but I have this little fancy-dancy kind of headset here. Would you please just post that you can hear me okay, that our volume is good, and that we're set to go? I'd really appreciate that. So Julia, thank you, and Kyle, I appreciate it, and Cindy and Joe, fantastic. Thank you all so very much. Paula, great. Oh, look at that. Paula, fantastic. You made my day seeing you on the call today. My friend from New York City, and Adrian, and Charmaine and Norm, thank you all for doing that. Hey, one other thing, because Andrea and I are always, well, we were just talking, I'm always curious about where people are from. Where are you signing in from? Would you mind just posting that? I see Cambridge, UK. Julia, how about that, Andrea? That's fantastic. Wow.
That's awesome.
That's great. Seattle, Harrisburg, right down the road from me, a few hours away, Lancaster, Ohio, and Tucson, New York, Vancouver, San Diego. Darn it, Maggie, I wish I was in your weather. My friend, I believe this is my good friend Tim Blair from Toronto. I'm hoping that's him. Is on here in North London, UK. Wow, I can't believe all these. This is fantastic. All right, Wisconsin. Wow, wait a second here. Get this. South Africa.
Super cool.
That's great. Red Deer, California, Red Deer, Alberta, Canada, Cleveland, bunch of Cleveland. Wow, I feel bad for Cleveland, though, Andrew. You know, I'm a bit of a football fan, and we always just destroy them. Like most teams in the NFL, the Pittsburgh Steelers win all the time. So sorry for those Cleveland people. I apologize, but I had to rub that in. Okay, so listen, I need your help today. Thank you for all posting, and Mike, Boston. I need your help, though. I need you to shut down Facebook, get out of Twitter, and get off of surfing the internet and so forth, and spend just a little bit of time here with myself and our guest today, Andrea, to talk about something that's changed my life. That's right, changed my life. My clients, my really good friends, my family know that Go for No, the program that we're going to talk about with one of the co-authors, Andrea, I'm going to introduce in a minute here, changed my life, made things so much better. That's where I really learned the concept, some will, some won't, so what, someone's waiting, and just going for no. My children have adapted it from listening it so much in my car. I do listen to Go for No all the time. I told Andrew before, I'm really kind of a stalker of Go for No. So I absolutely love this program. So I'm certain everybody on this call today is going to benefit from listening to this amazing system, this amazing program that Andrea co-authored with Richard. So right now I'm going to turn it all over, introduce you to Andrea, who's my hero, one of my heroes. So excited, Andrea. Welcome to the webinar.
Thank you so much, Bob. I am super excited to do this with you today. Thank you for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. Let me make you the presenter. And there you go, and you can take it away, Andrea.
Okay, so yeah, so great to have everybody with me today. I'm going to be talking about this concept, Go for No. You can visit us at Facebook at Go for No, but not right now. You were already warned not to do that, so we won't do that. So today I'm going to be talking with all of you about turning the no's we encounter in business from obstacles into assets. In other words, if you ever get frustrated by hearing no over and over, getting rejected, never hearing back from people, you know, who disappear on us, you can actually reprogram how you react to no's and then win more sales and win more clients. And my goal today actually has two parts. The first part is to add a skill to your toolbox, and in this case it's the skill of handling rejection. And when we learn this skill, what I have found sharing this over the last few years, this will give you more confidence. It will reduce your stress and lead to more business, and that is a really cool process. Now, the second piece to this is that it will also remove a restrainer, and so we can think, about this way. Hearing no, getting rejected, it's really one of the biggest restrainers that most of us have. And it brings me to one of my favorite analogies. So picture your car, right? And you have the car, and you filled the gas tank with fuel, and you're ready to go. And you could think of the gas, the fuel that you put in the car, as all of your experience, all of the training that you've spent getting over the years, all of the skills you've accumulated. And so you've got this full gas tank, and now you put your foot on the accelerator pedal, and you are ready to drive off, but you don't move. The engine is revving, but you don't go anywhere, and you don't go anywhere because your other foot is on the brake. Now, if you think about it, there are accelerators and there are restrainers. Now, accelerators are things that speed you forward, propel you forward, like the fuel in the tank, right? All of your background, all of the training that you've done, all of those skills. The restrainers are things that stop you or hinder your progress. Now, in this case, the restrainer is your foot on the brake. The brake is all of that rejection. It's all of those no's and potentials for no's that are out there. But once you remove your foot off the brake, and now it's only on the accelerator, you are literally racing off. And that's what happens when you start going for no. You are no longer restrained by fears of no, failure, rejection. And it's a great analogy, and it's one that I love, because I have to say, when I learned Go for No from the true creator of the strategy, my husband, my business partner, Richard Fenton, I thought I was a superstar salesperson. And then I got honest, and I realized that I didn't really like hearing no, and my avoidance of it was affecting my results. So for me, it actually was a little bit of both. It was an accelerator to my business and my sales, and it was also a removal of something that was holding me back, and quite frankly, I didn't even realize how much that it really was holding me back. So that's why I have such a huge passion for this topic. It helped me. I've seen it help so many people over the years, and Bob, with his awesome introduction, he is one of those people. So towards the end, we'll be doing a little Q&A, so you'll want to hang around for that. And if you decide you want to bring me into your office or into your car with you, I can tell you how to do that as well. Not physically, of course, but I will tell you about how you can get the in-depth full Go for No training program that we offer, and the special that we created for all of you to get that. So let's get started into the main content. So here's the first question I want to have you ask yourself, and that is this. When you hear the word no, what does that no mean to you? How do you respond to a no internally in your mind? What do you say to yourself? Is this the moment where you say, wow, it's going to be one of those days. I'm not going to get anywhere today. Or worse, I don't have what it takes. I'm failing at this. Or do you respond positively? And also, how do you respond externally in your actions? So what do you do when you get a no or a series of no's? Do you reduce your activity? Do you stop your sales activities, networking meetings, all of that, just avoid the potential for more no's? Or do you keep going? Now, your answers to these questions are really telling, because the relationship that you have with the word no, what you think and feel when you hear it, and I know that most of you are not thinking you have a relationship with the word no, but you do, how you internalize it, how you respond to it, and what you do afterward as a result. So whether you seek opportunities to hear more no's, or whether you metaphorically run from those opportunities, that, in our opinion, is one of the single most important factors in determining the level of success you will achieve in your career, if not the thing. Now, it's not just you. Most people do not fail anywhere nearly enough. In fact, most men and women spend most of their waking hours doing the exact opposite. They spend enormous mental and physical effort trying to avoid failure, avoid clients and prospective clients, say no and rejection with everything they have, and that is a strategy that is guaranteed to produce average sales results. So I told you guys that Richard Fenton, my husband, my business partner, he taught me this concept, and it really changed my life, obviously. It completely changed
mine.
me. Yeah. But what happened was he actually shared with me the Go for No story, and it's a story that we have in the book. And when he told me the story, that's when I really got it. I really got it. And the story basically goes like this. Richard had been working in a prominent menswear chain for a few months. He was not setting the world on fire. In fact, he figured they were going to fire him pretty soon, and that's when he found out that the district manager, a man by the name of Harold, was going to visit the store that he worked at, and he decided that if he could impress Harold, they would give him more time to improve his sales. So Harold shows up around 9:30 in the morning, and everybody says hi, and at 10 a.m. they're going to open the store, and Harold's basically there to observe and see what's going on, make sure things are running well. So Richard is in the store. He's the first sales guy in that morning, so he gets to help whoever walks in the door first. In those days they call it an up, the first up, and in walks, it's like cars almost, in walks this well-dressed gentleman who announces that he wants to buy an entire wardrobe of clothing, and Richard is thinking, oh my gosh, this is awesome, this is going to go really well. So Richard proceeds to have this great sale, $1,100 within 30 minutes, one of the biggest of his career, and he's thinking that Harold's going to be wildly impressed, and the customer leaves. Rich, walks him out, and he's waiting now for Harold to congratulate him on his fabulous sale, and Harold says, that was a nice sale, kid. And Rich is so proud of himself, but Harold just stands there not really seemingly impressed, and Rich is now getting annoyed. And then so finally, Harold says, yeah, that was a nice sale, but do you mind if I ask you a question? And so Richard is now frustrated, and he's like, sure, what? Go ahead. And Harold says, out of curiosity, Richard, what did that customer say no to during that sale? And he said, what do you mean, what did that guy say no to? It was an $1,100 sale. The guy bought a suit, a sport coat, 3 shirts, 6 ties, shoes, socks, belt, underwear, pocket square. What do you mean, what did he say no to? And Harold waits, and he says, Richard, we know what the customer said yes to. Yes is always the easy part, right? All you have to just look at the order or look at the sales check, whatever. What I want to know now is, what did he say no to? And so Rich thought for a minute, reviewed the whole sale, realized that the customer actually didn't say no to anything he was shown. Everything Richard laid in front of that guy, he bought. So Rich says to Harold, well, the customer didn't say no to anything. And then Harold asks him the really important question. He says, then how did you know he was done? And so the question really was the life-changing question for Rich, because he suddenly realized that he hadn't ended the sale. He was the one who ended the sale, excuse me, not the customer. And the reason was simple. Rich had never spent over $1,000 on a shopping trip in his life, so when he went over $1,000, which was his mental spending limit, they were done. That was it. He didn't want to press his luck. He didn't want to look pushy. He didn't want to look aggressive. And he ended it. And Harold said to Rich, I watched you sell, and you're not half bad, but your fear of the word no is going to kill you. And I think if you could get over that, if you could stop avoiding no, if you could learn to go for no, I think you could be one of the great ones. So it was pretty amazing, because that was Richard's life-changing moment. He went home that night. He always likes to say, I went home that night 2 letters from greatness, and the letters were N-O. And in that moment, Harold helped change Rich's perspective, and it's really a mental model that he taught him, which we now teach today. And the mental model is this. It's a basic model, actually, for seeking success, if you will, achieving a goal, getting to yes. And in the first model, it's the one that we all typically operate with. We call it the old model. You are in the middle. Failure, no's, getting rejected is on one side. Yeses, the success that you're seeking, is on the other side. And we all operate with this mission of doing everything within our power to move toward success and the yes, and away from failure and hearing no. But Harold's point was that there was this second model. And it's really a more effective model. In this new model, you are on one end, as you can see. Failure, rejection, hearing no is in the middle, and the success and the yeses are actually on the other side of the equation. So after learning this, And this model has become huge because this is really the foundation of having this mindset to move forward. And I know it seems a little quirky, you know, this new model of failure and success, but I think in a few minutes you'll understand why we share this. After learning this model, after learning the concept of go for no, Rich's sales immediately increased. He went to work the next day and just started going for no. He just did exactly what Harold told him. He didn't think about it. He just did it. He finally became an award-winning salesperson within about a year, got into management, got into training. We finally met at LensCrafters. Rich convinced me that I needed to quit my job and start a company with him, which I did because I was enamored with this concept, and apparently enamored with him because we ended up getting married. So that's basically what happened, and we launched the company sharing this idea. All of this happened because Rich learned this idea of go for no, and it's changed both of our lives. So where to begin now? With the balance of the time that we have, what I want to share is a few of my favorite, what I think to be some core strategies that will launch you into having this go for no mindset. And I like to share things that will have an immediate impact on you. And when I say immediate, I mean like tomorrow morning. You can literally start doing this tomorrow morning. So here is the first idea, the first strategy, if you will. And the strategy has to do with goal setting. Now, we all know how important it is to set goals, and sometimes the challenge is in the types of goals that we set. Most of us operate with what we like to call yes goals, goals for the number of times people say yes to us, the dollars we generate in a single year, you know, the number of sales we make in a month, right? And this approach, while it's the one that we've all been taught to use, it has an interesting flaw, and the flaw is that once we achieve the goal or we get near to achieving the goal, we tend to divert our attention to other tasks. You know, we reward ourselves for our success, but how do we always reward ourselves? Well, we slow down. We stop altogether because we reached the quota, we met the goal. We get involved in non-sales oriented tasks, and so the better approach really to try is to start setting no goals instead. So when we launched our business and after writing Go for No, we were still setting yes goals like everyone else. We knew the no goal concept, but we weren't even really practicing it in our own business. And our goal actually in those days was speaking. I mean, we did a lot of speaking and training, and so we had a goal to speak 4 times a month. So our goal was to get, you could say, 4 sales, 4 bookings. So at the beginning of the month, we'd get on the phone, we'd start calling, and what do you think we'd do when we got the 4 yeses we wanted? We took time off. We go to the movies. We got involved in all kinds of so-called business development activities, which had nothing to do with actually talking to potential clients, but we made ourselves feel like we were keeping busy, you know, working on the bottom line. So we decided to change the way we set goals and start setting no goals instead. So our goal became to have 100 companies say no to us each month. And when someone said yes to us, we didn't stop to celebrate because we had to keep going to hit our no goal. It was like, you know, oh, we got a yes, okay, that's great, that's one, but we have a lot more companies that we need to call to get more no's. What was amazing is that we found in any month in which we hit our no goal, we ended up with more business than we knew what to do with. And whenever things got tight, when we would have a lean period, we could always look back, you know, 3 or 4 months on our calendar, and we would discover a month that we had not hit our no goal. That is the insidious thing about yes goals, because as small business owners, you know, we had the power to decide what our income was and decide what our goals were, and yet they ended, those 4 yeses that we wanted to ended up limiting our performance rather than driving it upward. That's what we wanted to get. But if we stayed focused, and if you stay focused on the behaviors necessary to be successful, in this case hitting your no goal and doing the activities that get you in front of clients and prospective clients to get those yeses or those nos, the yeses will come. They always do. Now, here's the other kind of funny thing that I noticed, and I've had other people tell me this as well. Having a no goal keeps you on a hot streak. It's very weird. I think we've all had those days, those weird days when we are just on, where we certainly have had those days where we're off, right? You stub your toe when you get out of bed and it just goes downhill from there. The coffee's too hot and everything goes wrong, right? Well, then there's those days where we're just on. Everyone we talk to loves us. Everybody's excited about doing business with us. And then it's like you feel so good, and then you hit a goal or you hit some landmark that you were trying to reach, and then boom, you just stop because you're done. Now, having no goals, reaching out to people, making those contacts and those connections, and doing those things keeps that hot streak going, rather than just stopping you when you think, oh, that's good, I'm done. It really keeps you on that hot streak, which is fun. So the reality is that, and Bob said this, which was great, this is a mantra, and it may sound cute, but it does work, and it's an important mantra to remember. And the mantra goes, some will, some won't, so what, someone's waiting. And this is a key thing to keep in mind as you are going through your day and you're setting no goals for the day, week, or month. And of course, keep in mind that, of course, we don't recommend a goal for the number of no's that you should get, because we could never figure that out for you. Everybody's individual in terms of their desire to set no goals, but certainly as I'm going through the presentation, and if things are coming up for you that you have questions on, remember that we have time for Q&A at the end. I would love to answer your questions, so keep that in mind if there's something that's bugging you about anything that I have said so far. But the reality is this SW mantra will keep you going through that no goal process. So some will. You're going to make your presentation, you're going to meet people, they're going to like what you have to say, and it will be easy. And sometimes it's weirdly easy. You just think, that was almost too easy. Some won't, no matter what you do. And this is where it comes into, so what? This is where your response to the no comes in. This is where your response and your attachment to the outcome, in this case your attachment to the yes, needs to become, so what? And I know that sounds a little cliche, just say so what, but it's true. It helps you move on. And then, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this in just a second. And then finally, immediately after that, someone's waiting. Now, the idea of someone's waiting is pretty interesting. Is someone waiting? Do you have, I know that the people on this webinar have the list of people that they've talked to over the last 18 months, 2 years, 5 years. You've built a relationship with these people, and perhaps they've said no in the past. Perhaps they weren't ready to begin with you. You haven't followed up with them. You have somebody's business card that you got that you haven't called, a list of happy clients that you could call and ask for referrals but haven't done so. Of course you do. The problem is that most of the time, because we live in a go for yes world, meaning we're always operating in a way that has us avoiding situations where we could be rejected, we haven't taken a look at, and we ignore the someone's waiting list. Or we get lazy, maybe, complacency, waiting for that easy phone call, that client who happens to fall into our lap rather than getting out there and making something happen in our business. I did an interesting webinar with a lady a couple nights ago, and she talked about following up with people and doing so in a non-business way, and I thought it was absolutely genius. One of the things, she's actually called the client angel. One of the things that she talked about was making sure that you follow up with people in a non-business oriented way, and that is part of building the relationship. Go for no, while it is a sales philosophy and a persistence philosophy, is not always about just get to the sale, get to the sale, get to that end point where we get dollars in our pocket. It really is about growing that relationship. So following up with people, if you've got that list of someone's waiting, but you feel guilty because you haven't called them in 6 months or it's been a year and a half, go for no. Just pick up the phone, call the person, check in, see how they're doing, get a little tidbit of personal information, ask a couple questions, and now you've rekindled that relationship. And if you start working in that someone's waiting list, whether they're waiting, a lot of people don't know that they're waiting. They are. Yeah. They're now waiting. When you work on that and you rebuild some of those relationships, again, stress goes down, confidence goes up, you're touching base with people, and you don't, and obviously it doesn't have to be business oriented at all. If you're friends with some of these people on social media, go in and see what's going on and use that information to help you connect with people.
I love that, Andrea. Thank you for sharing that with everybody, because that's a big fear for a lot of people. They haven't talked to somebody in a long time, and they're worried about just calling them. Well, don't just call them to sell them something. Just call them to say hello and so forth, and build into it that way. That's perfect. I was just talking to one of my clients the other day, Karen, about this exact same thing. And it's so easy to do. And the people want to hear from you. Don't you agree?
Exactly.
Most of the people want to hear from you.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that what happens is we just get embarrassed, and
Yes.
it's a little embarrassing, and you know what? I think the reality of today's market, though, is everybody knows people are busy and that they have lives with their friends and family, and everybody's time is so valued and so protected. And so just to be honest, and when you do, call that person and say, you know what, I've been thinking about you on and off for the last 3 years. I know that sounds crazy, but I have, and I finally decided enough was enough. And I think that person would really appreciate that and kind of laugh with you about it, because they have someone in their life that is the same way. So, just be honest, get it out there on the table. But thank you, Bob. I appreciate you saying that.
Yep, you're welcome.
So another interesting phenomenon with the whole Go for No philosophy is the idea of taking those potential rejections personally. And we do see that with a lot of people, and when people learn the Go for No concept, they tend to fall in a few different groups. One, we have a group who hears this and they say, oh my gosh, I get it, I'm gonna run with this. Probably like Bob, just total go-getter, gets it, and just takes off 100 miles an hour and gets 100 no's in a day, and they just love it. Then you have the middle group, which is probably so the first group's 10 to 20%. Then you've got the middle group, which is probably the average person, the 60 percentile, who says, okay, I get it, but I really still don't like the rejection. I really take it personally. When you're honest with yourself and you think about those questions in the beginning that I asked about, do you take no, how do you respond when you get a no? Does it kind of deflate you? Do you maybe say negative things? So you've got that middle group, and then you've got the final group, which are the people that have still a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and have to really work on this and work on setting easy no goals and stuff. So no matter where you fall, though, I think to some extent, maybe even the first 20%, the super go-getters, they may take a little bit of those no's and that rejection personally. So the issue is that most people spend so long on the yes-no emotional roller coaster that they're used to the ups and downs. They get a yes and they're all up and they're excited and celebrate, and we're all very good at celebrating yeses, and then they get a no, a rejection, something doesn't go right, somebody disappears, they didn't expect to disappear on them, and they get depressed and berate themselves for the negative results. That is exhausting and draining. It doesn't serve you, it's not helpful to you, it's not inspiring to beat yourself up over a no. You don't get better by beating yourself up over a no. That's why, in addition to engaging in strategies like setting no goals, you must be simultaneously and consistently working on your mindset around no, reprogramming how you feel about it and getting yourself off that emotional roller coaster to make the full transition into the go for no world, and not always living and operating in just that go for yes world. So you do that really by finally and truly ridding yourself of the notion that no is personal. Make sure that you are not placing personal value, in other words, your self-worth, on whether that customer says yes or no, or what they choose to do. The reality is who they decide to go with, who they decide to partner with, buying, selling, all of that really has nothing to do with you. Now, I will tell you this, it's kind of funny. Rich always says, well, all right, so what if every 1 out of 100 it is personal? they don't like you. You remind them of their brother-in-law or whatever. Ultimately, it's all about that other person. It still has nothing to do with you. It all has to do with that other person's values, their beliefs, their perceptions. So that's where you really have to put that aside and not take those no's personally. Now, of course, in all of your business, follow-up and keeping in touch with people like we just talked about is huge. And a big part of Go for No is following up, keeping in touch with the people that told you no the first time or the second time or the third time. And this brings me to the concept of no doesn't mean never, no means not yet. And we've got some really interesting persistent statistics. And by the way, there are a lot of salespeople, a lot of people out there in the world who get one no, who talk to one person, they don't get the result they want, the person doesn't seem interested, and that's it, they're done. They never go back to that person. Well, one of the key ways that you make your time and your sales activity and your networking activity pay off, all of that invested time turn into profitable time, is by going back to those people that told you no the first time. So here are some interesting persistent statistics. 44% of all people give up after getting one no. 22% more give up after the second no. 14% more give up after the third no. 12% more give up after the fourth no, which means that 92% of all people give up before getting a fifth no. They give up before getting that fifth no, and yet 60% of all customers say no 4 times before finally saying yes. It takes that long sometimes to get people. Now, I'm not a math whiz, and so you can see, though, that the place to be, the place that you need to be in the select group of salespeople that go for no 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Part of a good go for no strategy is to understand that almost no one makes a decision the first go around, and it requires multiple contacts. Now, Bob, what do you think about that?
Oh, well, that was very eye-opening when you talked about this in your book and in the Breakthrough Pact. I can't remember, I heard it before, but it's so true. You have to go for these no's. If you want to be better than everybody else, if you want to do better than the average, then just get more no's. That just resonated with me so well. The whole go for no concept did, that it was a no quotient rather than just yes. I was always overachieve. If you're going to sell 50, I'm going to sell 100. And when I changed my mindset to I'm not going to sell 100, I'm going to get 100 no's, I was selling 200, 300, instead. So this is right on. I hope everybody takes this to heart. It's so easy to do as well. So it's so easy to differentiate yourself from everybody else. Just don't give up.
Yes, exactly, and you are differentiating. And the interesting thing is that people they are eventually going to make a decision. And oftentimes it's not because somebody's better, and that's a tragedy, and we've all seen that happen. It's because at the moment that they were finally ready, someone else was there and swooped in and got the business. So in order to stay top of mind, that requires a consistent follow-up campaign where you begin to hold real estate in the prospect's mind. You really are. You're trying to buy a little tiny piece of real estate in their mind so that when they're finally ready to act, that you are there, or that you're there and you contacted them recently, or better yet, they take the initiative and they seek you out to move forward. So you've got to stay in the game long enough for those numbers to fall into your favor. So I'm really interested in Q&A because it's always great to hear people's perspectives and questions. So I hope you guys are formulating some questions here. What I want to do now is take you through what we call the 5 failure levels, and this is outlined in the book Go for No. It's kind of a bird's eye view of how to look at the Go for No philosophy. So, and by the way, one of the reasons why we talk about failure is that, and that I went through the failure model, is that as kids, we were so tenacious. We had no problem with, hearing no, being willing to fail, being willing to mess up. In today's society, it is the exact opposite. We spend enormous amounts of effort and energy, as I said earlier, on trying not to fail and get no's and look stupid or look foolish. And so the result of that is a situation where people never give themselves to try anything new, to take risks, or to have opportunities come to them. That's why adopting that failure model in the beginning is so important. And it seems just like kind of a gloss over, oh, I get it. Me, I'm in the middle. I choose failure, I choose success, or no, I have to go through failure. Failing and understanding that those rejections and those no's are failures, and that is no longer seen by you as some kind of negative thing, some kind of embarrassing thing. Oh, I need to be ashamed of the fact that I didn't get one sale this month. I talked to 300 people and got tons of no's and nothing happened. That's actually planting a ton of seeds. And so instead of feeling embarrassed or ashamed of that, you actually should be celebrating that, celebrating your activity, because unlike a lot of other people who just got that one sale and they're celebrating this month, you know, which is fine. That is all living in a go for yes world. When you live in a go for no world, you celebrate your activity, and the result will come. Sometimes they come in streaks, not how we desire it. Sometimes it's just a flood, and sometimes it's a drought, but you never know. So you know, during this process, that failure model of understanding that's part of the path, and you're on the right path, not the wrong path. So that's kind of my setup for why we talk so much about failure, why this is so important, because if you start going for no and you start setting no goals and then you forget why you're doing this and what is the underlying philosophy, that is the underlying philosophy. It's understanding that path and really, quite frankly, almost retraining yourself and giving yourself permission to fail. Because up till this point, most people beat themselves up when they fail. So this is all about giving yourself permission to fail. So level 1 is obviously the most basic level. It is the ability to fail. It's where we all start. 100% of the people on the planet have the ability to fail. But most people don't move past this basic level. They get it, they have the ability, they don't want to do it. Level 2 is the willingness to fail. And this is reaching the point where you understand that, hey, you know what, I've got to tolerate this. And this may be where a lot of you are at this point in your business, because you achieved this level of success and you understand that, hey, it's part of it. It's not enjoyment, and it's doing it begrudgingly. So here's where we want you to get. This is the wantingness to fail. This is where Bob has become. Getting beyond the mere willingness to push past failure and rejection and develop that desire to seek those opportunities to get those no's. And this is where fewer than 5% of people really get to for a sustained period of time. For the long-lasting, sustained period of time, it's difficult. When you adopt that failure model and you get it and you own it and you live that different failure model, this is where the magic happens. This is what happens with wantingness to fail is you go to bed one night and you say, you know what, I never got a no today, not one no today. And you realize that it really was not all that successful of a day, as opposed to in the typical go for yes world, which is I got through my day having no one reject me, having nothing, everything went my way, I didn't fail, I didn't get rejected. It's totally different. You go to bed and you say, unfortunately, I did not get that no today. And the level 4 is really interesting. The people who get to level 4 have come to the conclusion that if failing is good, then failing faster is better. And not just failing faster, but also bigger. And we like to say a no is a no is a no, no matter who it's coming from. As the saying goes, easy yeses produce little successes. Easy yeses produce little successes, and if you're on Twitter, you can retweet that, not right now, Bob said no, with the go for no hashtag. It's one of my favorite tweets to tweet out. So seriously though, when thinking about going for a big no, the real question and the only question should be, do you have something? Do you have a service that this person might benefit from? Yes. Do you believe that you do and you are sold on the benefits? Then you need to put your own fear or apprehension aside and get on with telling them your story. Because again, most people living in the go for yes world avoid approaching people and getting a big no, because it's totally antithetical to how really operate in a go-for-no world. You open yourself up to a world of interesting and exciting opportunities because you're no longer measuring yourself against how many yeses you get versus how many no's. You're no longer focused on perfection, and you're no longer avoiding failures. When you go for big no's, all of that prejudging goes out the window. It has to go out the window because, when you start to set no goals and all of these things, that prejudging has to go out the window. So finally, level 5 is failing exponentially, and this is really a function of team leadership. This is what we're trying to do now with all of you, is get everybody on a particular team or in a particular group, and if everybody can drive their own failure rate to increase your success, then team failure can increase team success. So that is the 5 failure levels in a nutshell. And so I want to go to Q&A in just a second, but I did want to mention to you, I said that you could take me back to your office, you could take me into your car, and you can do it without me actually having to fly from Orlando, Florida. So when we were arranging this training webinar, I told Bob and Bill I wanted to do something special for all of you. And here are the details and who it will benefit. Obviously, anyone new to the business, this would be ideal for you. Even if you've been in sales a while like I was and you still find that you may have no and rejection as a restrainer, I take advantage of this. And if you consider yourself an expert or advanced person, then you're probably that way because you've spent time and you've made investments in your own personal development. So of course this program would be a great addition to your personal development. So here's what it is. It's the Go for No Breakthrough Pack. The important piece you need is the coupon code, which is Bob's last name, and CENK, and that will take this package to $97. But what you get is a Mastering Go for No training program. It's 3 CDs. It's Richard and I talking, basically just like I talked to you today, sharing 20 core Go for No concepts.
And I listened to that, by the way. I'm sorry to interrupt, Andrea.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
This breakthrough pack, and I told you before, well, thanks a lot, but I paid $167 so many times and suggest clients get this and everything else. But those CDs are amazing. I listen to them all the time. My kids listen to them. They're fantastic. And the DVD is amazing. The affirmation, this is just, I wish people would just try this because it's so life-changing, so life-changing.
Well, thank you. And we did spend a couple years. Richard is a perfectionist, so we spent a couple of years, writing, and then finally went into the studio and recorded those CDs. Created the documentary movie where we drove around the country and interviewed other people. I wish we knew you then, Bob. I would have interviewed you for the movie on their view of how they view Go for No in their business and their life to be more successful. And then an affirmation CD, which is kind of our best Go for No type statements in all different topic areas: failure, success, tenacity, your attitude on selling, set to music. So you guys can see how the pricing works and all of that, and that the coupon code will take $70 off. So, I wanted to make sure to be off that to you before we did the Q&A and before I wrap up with our final concept, because it's one thing to hear the webinar. If you get it and you want to run with it, great. But if you're a person who likes to listen to personal development in their car, I think you would really love this. So take advantage of that. So Bob, how do we want to do Q&A?
Yeah, we could take Q&A. Can I just tell just a really quick brief story about Go for No? Because I was enamored with the book right away, and I want to tell everybody how I broke into Go for No. I read the book, loved it. I mean, I was just on like cloud. I was like, this is great because, one, it's a short read, which is what I prefer. It was a very easy concept, and I can remember Andrew, I read it on a Saturday, and I'm a slow reader, so usually it takes me days to read a book. So I read it in one sitting, just absolutely loved it. And the next day we were doing a spaghetti dinner at my church. And so I showed up, and I'm a volunteer with the Boy Scouts and everything else. I'm a scoutmaster, and so all the scouts, we show up, we're going to work, and they're signing out duties, and they have me cleaning tables. And I went up to the gentleman that was arranging everything. I said, look, I can clean tables if you want, but I'm a salesperson. What else can I do? What do we need to do? Sell raffle tickets? And he said, well, we do raffles. And so I said, well, great. What do you typically sell at one of these? And he said, about $500. And I said, okay, well, typically before I read Go for No, I would say I'm not successful unless I sell $1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just read Go for No. So I changed it up and I said, what I'm going to do is go for 100 no's. I'm going for 100 no's today. And I only got in like the 30s, like 35, 36 no's before two things happened. One, we ran out of tickets, and I sold over $2,000 worth of raffle tickets.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Because I'd go up to people and say, you know, would you like to buy a raffle ticket? And what's their first thing? No.
Right.
So I'd look at them and I'd say, really? Why not? And then they'd say, okay, I'll take one. And I said, you have a 20 in there. I'll give you 10. And why? They've just gone for no. We had so much fun. People still remember it. And when they told me one no, I just kept on going for no's. And we had fun. People enjoyed it because they were all waiting in line to get into this. It was so crowded. But I was like, oh, my goodness, I just applied this book to my personal life, and it worked so well. So then I bought the pack, the Breakthrough Pack, immediately, and my team started listening to it, and we started a no quotient. This is a game changer, everybody, and it's so easy to implement. And now I have my children, Andrew, which that's the only complaint I have with you and Richard, because my children now go for no with me all the time. And I'll say no, and they'll say, well, Dad, you know we're going to go for no. I was like, go ahead. I'm going to keep on saying no. But they literally keep on going for no on me. But what a great tool to teach them.
Yeah, exactly. And kids are the best at it. But, you know, and it's funny, too. I'm glad you're doing it because, you know, hopefully it will prevent them from what happens to the rest of us, just somewhere, you know, gets kind of beaten out of us from high school. So
yes, it does. It gets beaten out of it, doesn't it? It just, we stop.
Right.
Where no's like a personal attack on us rather than no, it's just what you're offering right now or it's timing. Doesn't mean no, you're a bad person. No, I don't like you. It's just no to what you're offering right now or maybe the way you're offering it, right? So I love this. So let's see if anybody, you're welcome to type in some questions for Andrea, and I'll get them answered. I have a couple questions for you, Andrea, too, while we wait for people to type them in, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Andrea, when you're meeting with somebody new with this, and I'm thinking of my own, you know, my own business and so forth, and you're trying to get them to that next level, that level, maybe level 3 or level 4, okay? What is the biggest thing that you're trying to get them to focus on? You know, let's just say they're, you know, you want them to get, they're already in level 1, everybody is, the willingness to fail where, you know, only 20%, but now you're going into that waitingness to fail. What's the biggest thing that you have found that helps people to get into that level?
Oh, to kind of move into that wanting, the wantingness level.
Yes.
Yeah, the wantingness level is the way to get there actually is to set those no goals and to watch what happens over time with those, because when you set those no goals and you continue to build upon them, and I kind of just did the shorter presentation on exactly how that works, but you know, you come up with your first no goal, so you know, and you can obviously reverse engineer it. So it's, well, I know that in, you know, 100 calls I get one sale. So you reverse engineer and figure out, okay, this is how many no's I need to get, you know, this week, get those 100 for the month, etc. So when you start setting those no goals and then adjusting them and increasing them to challenge yourself, and you find those interesting opportunities that fall into your lap. Perfect story, one of my favorite stories, and this is how a good friend of ours got to the wantingness level. He said, I was in the car, I had made sales calls all day driving around, and it was about 5:30, almost 6 o'clock, and he said, I had gotten to 9 no's, and that day, being in the car all day and making all these sales calls. I wanted 10. And he said, so I decided there's this guy that I have called on a few times, and he always tells me no. So what I could do right now in the car driving home is I'll just call him real quick. He'll tell me no. I'll get my 10th no, and it'll be good, and I'll be proud of myself. So that's that perfect wantingness level to get to. Now what ends up happening, of course, he tells me is he calls the guy, and he's like, hey, it's Mike, and how you doing? And hey, I know that, you've told me no on signing your guys up for this particular program and all of that, but I just thought I'd check in. And then the guy's like, Mike, I was thinking about it, and yeah, I'm in. So call me on Monday. Let's set this thing up. So he said, you guys, he was telling us, he's like, I couldn't even get my 10th no. And then of course he got this great sale. So that's when you have that stuff happen, you are just already sold. You have become the wantingness. At that point, you are laying in bed going, I could have had something exciting happen at the end of the day if I had tried.
Yeah, if you just went for that last thing, because the worst thing that they could say is no to you again.
Right.
But so often I find they say yes, and that's that mental combat that I always have. I in my business I teach to get upfront fees and so forth from buyers and sellers, and I have to have that mental combat with myself. Is always remember the worst thing they can say is no. That's it. But what if they say yes? I always love the story that you told about when somebody is set on just yes. If their goal is they're going to get 10 yeses in a month, and the first week they get 6, the second week they get 4, what do? They slack off. But when you have the no quotient, and your no quotient is 100, and you get 6, but you only got 10 no's, you're 90 no's behind, and then the next week you get your 4 yeses, but you got another 10 no's, so you're now 80 no's behind. You don't slack off. You have 80 no's. And if you go and get 40 and 40, you're probably going to get 12 or 14 yeses in each week. And you don't slack off. You don't stop, because that's a natural tendency once you reach your goal.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that I just wanted to point out, and it was really evident in the story with Mike, and even your fun raffle story, because you even said the word fun. At the beginning of the webinar I said that my tools always are, to increase your confidence, reduce your stress, and also have more fun. And what starts to happen when you develop that, go from that willingness to that wantingness, and you're really starting to have fun with it, it does become a game. And that's kind of the reduce the stress part, because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and there's a certain personality I've started to notice over the years who is probably the worst with the go for yes stuff. They are perfectionists. They demand perfectionism from themselves first and foremost. They don't want to start anything that they think might fail. They don't want to fail. They're not proud of failures. It's kind of type A personalities sometimes. And so what happens with those people is there is a tremendous amount of stress. So if we can change it up and insert some fun in there, then it really does reduce their stress.
It does. Anytime you have fun in your job, it reduces stress, and you do so much better at it. When we have fun, just imagine if every single day was an absolute blast at work, and you were having fun, you're going to do a better job than anybody else, right?
Absolutely.
That's why some of the very large companies, like Google and so forth, they have these amazing campuses where you have fun. It's entertaining. You can't wait to go to work. Now, if you could do the same thing and say you can't wait to get no's, when you turn no's upside down, right? And I think you say in the, I know you say that, they're on the same side of the coin. Yes and no. You have to go through no's in order to get yeses. They're not on the opposite side of a coin. It's the same side. I love that one too. If everybody will remember that, you have to go through no's in order to get to those yeses.
Yep, exactly. And some people, and if people are shy, don't want to ask questions, that's fine. But if you guys have questions, definitely ask. The other thing I was going to say is there's sometimes a concern about, well, gosh, is this negative? Am I engaging in negative thinking? And I want to think positively. And I can promise that when you go for no, we're not trying to have you put out any mental vibes from a quantum physics, quantum, mechanics standpoint where you're putting out no vibes and you want people to tell you no. And I'm certainly not suggesting that if somebody calls you and wants to do business with you that, you hang up on them, right? Because that would be bad. So, so it's not like you're like, oh no, everybody's going to sense that I just want no, that's all I want. It's not like that at all. It really is a behavioral philosophy, and dealing with a guy that we actually interviewed for the movie. He said, you guys deal with something which is the reality of the situation. The reality is that people say no, oftentimes multiple times. Rejection is out there, so you're taking something that is the reality, but putting a positive twist on it and a way that you can empower yourself to think better of it rather than think negative of a negative situation, if that makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. And I have somebody that put their hands up, and or maybe he did it by mistake. I do know this gentleman, so I'm going to open up Mike's phone line, and we'll see if he's on there. It looks like he has a question. 1 second. Hey, Mike, can you hear us?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You have a question for Andrea?
Yeah. Well, I have something positive just to bring, if that's okay.
Yes,
so
please.
I was bad in terms of I was multitasking while I was doing this. I actually was waiting to get my hair cut, and I had my earbuds in, and I was on my iPhone on the GoToWebinar app. So I was listening to it, and the lady cutting my hair, she asked me where I worked, and I said, oh, I work at Remax, and she mentioned something about buying a home in the future, and kind of was standoffish or whatever, but as I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go for now. And I ended up just getting her full name, email address, and she didn't give me her phone number. She said, oh, you can email me properties. And I said, oh, I didn't get it. I didn't get a no yet. I'm like, well, put your phone number down too. And honestly, because she gave me the vibe as if she just wanted to give you email. Mm-hmm. People do that.
Yeah.
And so I picked up the subconscious vibe. Like the phone number was already rejected. She put that out by just saying, well, here's just my phone. Here's just my email. I'll give that to you. I said, okay, great. Go ahead and put your phone number down there too. And she just complied and did it. And I laughed because I was like, I went for no because honestly, pretty good, successful sales guy. Like, I felt it in my heart that she had told me no, and I didn't want to get rejected by asking. I'm like, oh, she'd just reject me. I'm like, well, no, I want the no. And I got the yes, and I just laughed. So I just wanted to share that.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Mike. That's fantastic. I love that.
Mike, that's a great story. I love it.
Hey, how about that for taking action, everybody? Take action immediately.
I'm back in my office. I got a haircut, and I got a lead. Thank you very much. I'm going to order the program.
Wow, that's good.
Great, Mike. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Bye.
Andrea, that's great. That's something I teach, success with free leads. I always say if somebody says I won't give you, I'd rather just give you my email address. I always tell them, I'm not a stalker. Just give me your phone number or whatever. I joke around with them, and I believe you just go for no. Most people will never, at a restaurant or whatever, ask somebody for their information. And 99% of the time, they'll give it to you, and they're fine with giving it to you.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, this is a professional person who's not, this isn't anything weird, so for sure. But I think like Mike was saying, and I loved that he had the great, courage to share that with us, that inside he thought he wasn't even outright rejected. He just felt it in his heart, and I think we all do that as we make those assumptions that I feel this person, I feel the vibe, and we maybe make assumptions about what they will or won't do. And so I say kudos to him for taking action. People give Go for No a lot of credit, and I admit that, we love hearing about stories and all these great things, but it takes people to action, so I'm just very impressed.
Yeah, I love, with Mike's story, I think you kind of touched on it earlier in the program when you first started talking, that we make this assumption that people are going to tell us something. That's really like a no, that I don't want to bother them. I haven't talked to them in a long time, or I already know they're going to say no to me. We don't even go for the no necessarily, right? We don't even, we stop before that. So,
exactly.
This just encouraged Mike in that scenario, just go for no. He already believed in his heart that she was going to say no, and what did she say? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes back to his office, and he has a yes, he has a lead. So thank you, Andrea, for sharing, and thank you to Mike for volunteering that great story.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bob, also, before we just wrap up, too, I want to make kind of one of the final point, which is to just remember that, and Mike's story kind of reminded me, and I made this point during the webinar, and that is, this is not about manipulative, it's not about badgering people, it really is about serving others. And if Mike thinks that he can help this woman, and he believes that he does, and he's got the skills and the the ability and all of that, which he does, ultimately this could turn out to be a great thing for both of them. And that's ultimately what Go for No is about. It's about being positively persistent so you can serve others.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, I can't wait for people to just try this, to at the very least get the book or the great deal that you offered all of our listeners today with the Breakthrough Pack. When I say, I mean, some people don't know how to take me if they've never met me before, but my clients all know that I tell everybody to get Go for No. I absolutely love it. It's an amazing program. I've implemented it in my life. I'm going to continue to encourage others to get it. And it's wonderful. I hear stories all the time, by the way, Andrea, all the time. People saying, thanks, Bob, for turning me on to Go for No, and I'm using it. I had this kind of success and so forth. So it does come back to you, everybody. It does come back to you. So, Andrea, any closing thoughts before we wrap this up today?
Thanks for having me. I agree with you, Bob. Try it, test it. It's a life philosophy. You can test it in all different places. I always use the example, if you're in a restaurant, you get seated at the horrible table in the back, and there's the cute table in the window at the front, has to be reseated. Yeah. So you can test it everywhere.
Well, I had a couple people that just posted, Mike and Anwar posted. Can you go back to the page before, which shows the slide before? It's goforno.com, everybody, goforno.com, a really easy one. And you just go to the development store. And by the way, Andrea, I love the look of your new website. It's fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And I wanted to remind everybody, we talked about this, and I asked Andrea's permission that I could do this. I signed up for their newsletter. And by the way, they don't sell it to anybody. You don't get spam from everybody, which I love and appreciate and respect. Thank you, Andrea. Mm-hmm. I do the same thing. But I get their monthly newsletter, and it always makes my day. It always makes me think about something. It's very well done. It's not overbearing. So I would encourage everybody not only to go and take a look at the development store and just take a look at their beautiful website, Go for No, but to sign up for their free newsletter, because it'll definitely hit you each month and make you think and make you smile oftentimes too. So thank you for all that you do, Andrea, for everybody with your sharing the Go for No, and to Richard as well. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to us about Go for No. So,
absolutely.
And thank you to everybody that took the time out of their day to be on the call today. Fantastic. Now get out there and Go for No. Have a great week, and as always, good climbing. Thank you, everybody.